Hi, my name is Anne and welcome to my channel Lilacs and Lilies. Today we will be continuing our conversation around LGBTQIA plus vocabulary, particularly around gender. So if you are curious about what some of these letters represent around gender and anything around gender identity or expression, go ahead and stick around and we will start with our first definition, which is gender identity. So gender identity is described as someone's internal experience of gender. So this can be from man over to woman or something off of the scale, something in between. Many people may identify themselves as cisgender. So cisgender is not in LGBTQIA, but it is a very helpful term to describe someone who was assigned a particular sex at birth and their gender may align with that. So if they were assigned male at birth and they identify as a man, or maybe they were assigned female at birth and they identify as a woman, these are considered cisgender identities. The other option when we are looking at assigned at birth would be intersex. Intersex is a definition for someone who was born with a variety of sexual anatomy. This may mean that they can have some anatomy that would pertain to female and some anatomy that may pertain to male, and so they are actually existing in the middle or a mixture, and this is intersex. This is one that we are looking at anatomy, so male, female, or intersex, anything in between. And we also have transgender. So transgender is someone who identifies as a gender either opposite or different from what they were assigned at birth. So we may see transgender women, transgender men, trans non-binary. Any of these simply define someone who does not identify as what they were assigned at birth. We want to be careful to use respectful phrasing when we are speaking about people who are transgender or really any gender. We will not use phrases like transsexual is not a phrase that we use. We also won't use transgendered as an adjective. We will simply have a transgender person. So make sure we are being as respectful as we can, and each individual person will let you know what they are comfortable being called or how they identify. So we do have our cisgender persons, and our transgender persons can identify on the binary. So our binary is from woman over to man. Now, we do have people that identify in between, right? These are all people who identify within that spectrum, and we may even find someone who is off of the spectrum. Some names you may have heard are non-binary or agender, gender fluid, or genderqueer, but obviously every single person will have their own gender identity and we will be respectful of what they identify as. When we look at identities like gender fluid, they may move in between this binary between woman and man. We may find someone who identifies more as a man some days, but may also shift to feeling more aligned with woman other days. So non-binary we see is someone who identifies as neither male nor female, and non-binary is one that kind of falls outside of that binary. However, when we look at the identity agender, that may be someone who does not identify with a gender at all, with zero gender. And everyone who may identify as genderqueer, non-binary, agender, this is not an exact definition. Everyone's identity may be different, and someone who may identify as non-binary, there may be someone else who identifies as genderqueer within that. And everyone is able to identify with whatever word lines up for them. So we have many different options here for gender identity, and there's always different names that are changing over time, and everyone will be able to tell you what they identify as. So the next thing that we want to be aware of, which I will talk about in another lesson, is going to be around our pronouns. So pronouns within English, we may see he, him, his, she, her, hers, and they, them, theirs. These are all different pronouns, and everyone is going to be different as what they feel are the appropriate pronouns for them. It is always important that no matter what someone's gender identity is, they will tell you what their gender identity is, or they will simply tell you pronouns, and we want to make sure that we are being respectful of those pronouns. Our last vocabulary word that we want to talk about today will be gender expression. Now, gender expression is not the same as gender identity. We remember that gender identity is our internal and perceived experience of our gender. However, gender expression is how we present our gender. This may mean our clothing, our makeup, our earrings, our accessories, anything that we use to express our gender on the outside. Now, if you choose to dress more masculine, but you identify as a woman, or if you express yourself more feminine in a more feminine way and you identify as non-binary, none of these have anything to do with each other, right? Gender expression is how we choose to show ourselves, how we express ourselves, and our gender identity is who we are on the inside, is how we identify. So we remember that these are not always the same, and that every way to express yourself is always a beautiful expression of whoever you are. So this is all a bit of a rainbow here. We have many different gender identities, and our definitions and ways of defining ourselves is changing every day. However, we want to make sure that we are always being respectful of everyone's gender identity, and now we know a little bit more about how we may use those, and always remember to respectfully ask if it feels like it is a safe space, and if not, simply respond with the pronouns that they ask you to use, and to always make sure that you are being as respectful and as kind as possible. This is kind of a big topic. I obviously, as a woman who identifies, I am a cisgender woman. I am not a perfect resource for this, but I want to make sure that at least that conversation is being had. If you identify as a transgender individual or a genderqueer individual, I would love your feedback and any messages down below that will help us to speak correctly about all of our different gender identities. Please leave any questions down below, and I will do my very best to answer them, or to find someone who can help me answer them in a better way. Thank you so much to the people who I was able to speak with and to help me be as helpful as possible, and I will hopefully see you next class. I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I will see you soon. Bye!